Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumo and it's great to be on this show where we discuss all things books. I'm excited about today's episode because it deals with a subject that is very relevant to all of us in Nigeria and around the world. Stress. Stress. It's a big deal. It can be deadly, can be very devastating. Stress, I mean. How do you master stress? Well, this episode is about the subject of mastering stress and more. And our guest author has written a book that is a must read. If you want to understand the dangers, the challenges of stress, and how to master stress, then you want to listen to this fascinating guest of ours this week. Let's get to meet with her and get introduced to her book, Rhythms of Resilience. Enjoy this.
Chris Ekuafeh-Ero is a trained stress mastery expert, holistic living coach, and author. Chris, who is the founder and lead facilitator at the Wellness Boss Company Limited, has a podcast tagged First Things First Wellness. She's an alumni of Ahmadu Bello University. Chris joined Channel's Book Club to discuss her book, Rhythms of Resilience, Conquering Amnesia, Embracing Chaos, and Mastering Stress.
It's nice to have you on Channel's Book Club.
Thank you so much for having me, Kunle.
It's great to have you here.
It's awesome.
How does it feel sitting the other side? Because I know you've sat on this side.
Oh well, I've sat on this side on a number of occasions, so I'm kind of used to
both.
I'm used to both. Yeah, I'm used to both.
Fantastic. Where do we start? Your book just blew me away because I've always heard about people losing their memories and Jason Bourne on TV, movies, novels. I never really met somebody who had that experience. And then reading that part of your story, which turned out for your good anyway, because it's the basis of what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is which we'll talk about.
Yes.
But I would like you to, let's get started by talking a bit about that experience and then let it lead us into this book, and the primary themes and messages you have here in this great book, Rhythms of Resilience.
Yes. Well, when you said let's start from
you had an experience where you lost your memory for 2 years.
Yes, I lost my memory for 2 years. And what had happened was I went into a coma. I apparently slumped, and went into a coma. It wasn't so long, like days, it was a few hours. I can't remember exactly the number of hours, but the next day when I did wake up, my memory was gone, but then, from the little bit I was hearing, it was all about my blood pressure. My blood pressure had risen exceedingly high. And apparently it was a miracle I was alive, right? So what the doctor tried to do then was just to check if my cognitive skills were intact, if I wasn't paralyzed in any way or shape or form, which I wasn't, but I just couldn't recollect anything. So they thought, okay, maybe when she sleeps. Anything. So the thinking was, okay, maybe when she sleeps, and wakes up, she would remember again. So I was put to sleep. And I woke up, it was the same thing, but I couldn't stay at the hospital for so long because physically nothing was wrong with me.
For context, you just had your second baby.
Yeah, he was about 5 months.
5 months.
5 months old then. Yes.
So you were married.
Yes, I was.
You had the first child.
I had a child and a boy, and this was my second.
You had your family. You couldn't remember anybody.
No one. They brought pictures to me. Then I hadn't seen my face. I hadn't looked at a mirror to see my face. So even the face was not familiar to me.
When you looked at the mirror? When
I looked at the mirror, it was like, okay, so this is me. But I couldn't even recollect who I looked like or what I looked like. So when they brought, at a point when I was in the hospital, they brought my baby. Then I was breastfeeding. So there's something, I started feeling pain in my breast. So I think that was when it occurred to me that, oh, okay. But to me, it was strange because I thought I was 16 years old. I thought I was 16. Wow. So it made it the more difficult for me to believe that, this was my life. Like, how can this be my life when I am 16? And that was the only thing I could recollect, that I was 16. I couldn't recollect my birthday. I couldn't recollect why I thought I was 16, whether I was in school or not in school. But just the fact that 16 just kept playing in my head, And then, of course, they couldn't keep me at the hospital for too long. So I had to go with the people they said were my people. I had to go home with them.
Wow, it's mind blowing. But I like the way your story connects to what you are doing now.
Yes,
and for people to understand that now, you are into wellness, stress mastery, workplace wellness. That's your area of expertise. That's the value you're providing for a lot of people and organizations out there.
Yes.
But I like the way the story connects. Now, you had that, fell into that coma, memory loss, but before then, it was induced by stress.
By my lifestyle.
Your lifestyle. So I would like you to talk a bit about that, because that's what this book is about. So at the end of the day,
at the end of the day, it's all about the choices that we make, that affect our well-being, right? And a lot of times, for most people, we are ignorant of the things that we need to do, and we work based on, the popular thesis of what wellness is or what health is meant to be. In my own case, at that time, and this was an accumulation of things that happened or things I was doing way before I even got married to when I started having kids, I'd always been very slim. So I thought I could get away with anything. I just assumed, I'm healthy.
You thought slim people were
that
healthy people.
thinking that you have that,
you're
slim,
not fat.
You're healthy. Everything is okay with you, right? And I've always been my metabolism has always been very high. I've always been very active. So I was always dabbling into things. I didn't think I needed to slow down. My mind was like, slow down for what? Because when I came to Lagos with a mission. I'm gonna make it. I didn't come to count. No, it was like I'm coming to Lagos to make it. So at that point, it wasn't really about slowing down. I felt I was young. So what am I slowing down for? And I'm healthy. I look good. I'm fit, supposedly, right? So I took a lot of things for granted. Yeah, I wasn't sleeping how I ought to sleep. I wasn't feeding myself appropriately. I was basically not taking care of myself. So a lot of things that people struggle with now, where you find that probably even procrastination, lack of delegation, multitasking. Superwoman, Superman, whatever. I can do everything, and and all that. So I imbibed everything. So I didn't learn to pace myself. I didn't learn how to take care of myself. And then, as a single person, and I took that habit into my married home. I know how it is when you're married. There are more responsibilities. So because I hadn't yet built that foundation that I needed to support me, I allowed myself to just carry the same ideology into marriage. There was no balance. There was no proper integration,
So you broke down.
Yeah, and because of all the, how it is when you're in a marriage, so there's going to be issues here, issues there, you have children, so all that just accumulated. I didn't know how to deal, and I thought I was dealing the best way I could, but I wasn't. Rather, I was putting myself more under stress, under tension, and my blood pressure rose. I know the funny thing, during my first pregnancy, I had no issues with my blood pressure. I didn't even know what it meant to go with it, except maybe when I was doing my prenatals or antenatals, right? So they check for your blood pressure. I didn't know how important that was then. And then my second baby, the same thing, So when the issue of hypertension came up, I was like, wow.
Where did this come from?
Happened, this recollection was after I regained my memory. I was thinking back, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But then I also recalled that even though I was ignorant, my body wasn't.
Okay, we're going to come back to that, but rhythms of resilience, conquering amnesia, embracing chaos, mastering stress. I'd like you to introduce this to viewers.
All right. So we're talking about rhythms of resilience. The reason I chose the name, and to be very clear, the name was not chosen by me primarily. You know, when you're doing,
Yeah, you wrote
when you have a
about how you
project,
brought people.
yeah, when you have it, because you just want a name, a title that will stick, you know. So I had a friend who actually brought up these rhythms of resilience, but with about 4 other options. So I ran it around different people. So we did mix and match, and we came
to this title,
because those ones knew my story to some extent. So they're like, yeah, the rhythms of resilience, because you're talking about resilience. Resilience is about your ability to move forward, to forge ahead, right? So it's all about how you're navigating the waters of life, which is about the rhythms, the dance, you know. And then we looked at the conquering amnesia. Did I conquer amnesia? Yes, I did. Right. So that was part of my rhythm. That was part of me navigating. So I conquered amnesia. I embraced the chaos. You know, there was something you said that it was very funny that when my memory came back, there were other issues I was...
Yeah, the return of the memory brought other issues.
Yeah, so that's part of the chaos, right? So I had to learn to embrace the chaos. And the lessons that I got from learning to embracing the chaos brought me to mastering stress. Because all that is all stress related.
Yeah, that's why I said I like the way your story connects.
All that is stress related. And I tell people that it doesn't matter what we do in life, every single thing that we do, the primary connector is our relationship with stress. It doesn't matter as a single person.
The primary connector is our relationship with stress.
So it doesn't matter if you're a business person, you're an employee, you're a stay-at-home, you know, wife or husband, you're a child in school. You'll be amazed the stress that kids are under. You know, so there's stress in every single segment of our being. Okay,
I have so many things to ask you.
Right.
But so little time. Okay, so you can see that I'm just moving from here to there and all that. So forgive me. Now I'll take you back to the memory loss thing.
Right.
2 years. You wrote about how, despite being in that situation, when you decided to pick up your life, you just kept going. Despite that, I mean, for example, you were working at a radio station, you were at some point in time TV, and you were still experiencing that. You were still in the middle of that before, at some point in time,
before the memory
returned again, right? So I'm a bit curious to know what that was like for you.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. It was my son. You know, the funny thing, my second son plays a very pivotal role in everything, you know. So it was my son who made me realize that I had a reason to live, that I needed to live. Because prior to then, I was very suicidal. Nobody could really enjoy me. And every single second, I was sitting with thoughts of self-pity, you know, and self-loathing and paranoia, not trusting anyone. Like, you come to me and you say, okay, yeah, right? But it wasn't. So when my son made me realize that, I was like, okay, I needed to leave. So my husband then he told me that there was something that I was very passionate about, that I'd always been very passionate about the media. And prior to then, I had just done a training. You know, so he asked that, why don't you go back?
Your husband told you this?
Yes. So why don't you?
But then you didn't remember it was your husband, right?
No, I didn't remember.
Except that he told you it was your husband.
Yeah, you know, and I was living with him in the house, so he was the only person I knew. You know, so he told me that. I was like, okay, fine. So I went to the radio station and I had to beg them because they looked at my CV, my resume that my husband had printed out for me. You know, they looked at it and they were wondering, why are you coming here? Like, based on everything that I was like, well, so I had to open up to them. I said, hey, this is it. But I want it under wraps. I didn't want to be
confidential.
Pitied. Yeah, I didn't want to be pitied. I didn't want people to see me as like a freak or something. And I told them this especially because, of course, because you don't have any memory, you might come off looking stupid sometimes. When people ask very simple questions and you're looking lost. So I had to let them understand it was very important. I'm not stupid. I'm just not with my memory, you know. Yeah. But it was so crazy, and I relished the times I spent there because I was always in front of the system, always researching, always studying, always wanting to connect with my world, you know. And in the midst of that, I was given a job to interview people. my mind was like, how am I going to be interviewing people when I don't even know who you are? Like, on what basis? How am I going to be asking you questions? Where am I going to pull that from? But as it all played out, it worked out so beautifully. How it happened, I really don't know.
On the final note, Chris, because of our time,
Yes.
The third part of your book, yes, there is you share a number of lessons there. How many? 12? Let me see. How many lessons did you share there?
13.
13 lessons. I mean, as a pattern on a pattern note, could you share 2 of these lessons very briefly? Just pick on 2 of the lessons, and then we'll just look at those 2 lessons very, very briefly. I won't tell you my favorite yet. I'll see whether you'll pick my favorite. But let's go. Which 2 are you giving?
I would have wanted to start with 1, but we're on TV.
1 happens to be my favorite.
Lesson 1, yes. Like things happen.
Yeah, things happen.
Things happen. But I'm going to go with, because I think number 2, I'll go with lesson 2 as one of my first favorite lessons that I had to learn.
I am not a victim.
I am not a victim. I think it's very, very important. So there is, life happens to us in ways that a lot of times we are not prepared for, right? And we never assumed it would happen. And it's very easy as humans, it's very easy to want to play the victim, because it's difficult for you to admit that probably a choice that you made or didn't make led you down this path, right? So it's easy for us to say, oh yeah, I'm a victim, you blame someone else. But the problem with playing victim is you become very reactive, and reactive meaning that you work from a place of emotions rather than from logic, right? And you obviously blame people. You blame people a lot. You don't take responsibility.
Yeah, because you are the victim.
Yeah, so no accountability at all.
Yeah.
And because there's no accountability, there can't be growth.
Yeah.
You can't be proactive. You can't be productive. And you find them even in the workplaces. A lot of people who point fingers stifle the growth within the team that they are in, because they refuse to own up to their own role in it. And you become very entitled. You expect people to treat you a particular way because, hey, I'm the victim, so do me, pity me. And people really don't like that. And what happens with that is you become easily emotive, and depression comes easily to you as well. So it affects everything. You're not as productive as you ought to be. So I am not a victim. I think it's very, very important. Pivotal. Yes.
One more. Fantastic. That's very powerful. One more, and then we'll call it a wrap because of our time. Oh, we could go on and on here.
Yeah, there's one that I really like, and I tied that to my mom.
Okay. Which is that?
I can choose my battles.
That's lesson number what?
That's lesson number 11.
11.
I can choose my battles.
I can choose my battles. Okay.
Yes. So I tied that to my mom for a reason. Life is about conflict. I mean, without conflict, life is not exciting. There's no groove to life. There's something they call vanilla, who needs that? It's not all about sweetness, really. And it's the conflict that gives depth to your existence and your ability to deal with the conflicts and overcome those conflicts. So I had this relationship with my mom. My mom passed in 2022, and December 2022. And we're close. I'm her first, right? And mostly alike in a lot of ways. I know how it is when people are alike. There's always butting heads here and there. So we're always butting heads over. Now that I think about it, things that really didn't matter, right? But at that time, I thought they mattered, and because I was not being very smart in the battles I was selecting, I wasn't understanding the person I was dealing with. I didn't fully understand myself. I didn't appreciate the goodness that I had. So I was looking at what I thought were huge problems. So I was so focused on that a lot of beautiful moments that I could have created, more beautiful moments I could have created with my mom, I lost. So having lost her physically, I spent time thinking about it. I was like, wow, So how many of us are in that boat right now, even in our workplaces? You find that we are moved by little things. So somebody shouts at you, yeah, so what? So yeah.
So we need to choose.
You need to choose your battles. What is your goal? That's why I say I always start from the beginning, which is the foundation, which is your why. What is your goal? Why do you exist? If you are at a workplace, why are you there in the workplace? What do you want to achieve there? Now, if you know what you want to achieve, the naysayers wouldn't distract you. People shouting at you or somebody calling you stupid wouldn't distract you because you know yourself, you know you're not stupid. So the person says you're stupid is not affecting you because you have chosen your battle. My battle is I'm going to succeed at my workplace. I'm going to get promoted. Even if my desire is not to be promoted. But at least let me learn what I can learn and leave on a good note.
Perfect.
Yes.
Chris, thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club. Great book you've written. Everybody should read this book,
yes,
Rhythms of Resilience.
My first book, my first published book. So it's pretty exciting.
You must be very proud of it. Well done.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's a great book. Well done.
Thank you.
There's a new book in town. ABC of software testing. That's a very important subject there. Those of us in tech will understand how crucial software testing is. Well, this new book explores the subject, and when it was launched, we were there. Enjoy this.
Ibironke Yekinni, a full-stack engineer, has gathered tech enthusiasts and rookies to launch her maiden book, ABC of Software Testing.
Did you find more defects when they put it in production?
Yekinni, an expert who spent years conducting software testing on web applications, mobile applications, and hardware applications, documents her experience in the book to provide an introduction into the field of software testing.
When there's a change, they want you to give feedback.
In her review of the book, Grace Adebola Adekunle, a quality assurance and test specialist, lays out the interesting features of the book.
Just like, a day in the life of a busy woman, or a day in the life of a housewife, a day in the life of a business analyst. So what do you do on day-to-day basis? That is what Ibironke is telling you here. That you can actually use her book to aid your journey, to settle down, to integrate when you are testing. It's saying that, from conception to completion, what do I need to do? When a project is assigned to me, what do I do first? What do I do next? In what sequence will I do this until I complete the journey, until I complete the process? Right? That is what is on chapter 4. So this book is so rich that you must have a copy at least.
Panelists who are all tech experts also speak of what readers should anticipate from the book.
If we have different pills, right? So we have chloroquine that is bitter but does the job. We have a tetracycline that is not bitter but it smells but does the job. And we have a multivite. I think I'll put this book in the category of a multivite.
Looking at what some of the images are, that I saw in the book, and it just made me flash back to really how far we have come. This book for me also made me remember many times when you're a leader, you're working every day, it's easy for you to forget how far we have come in the technology industry. So it was even like a refresher course for me. She was talking about things around Fortran, all of those old, technologies that we are totally forgotten about. Thank you.
I'm honored. Thank you. Thank you so much.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, the first software testing book launch in Africa, the ABC of software testing. Congratulations to Ibironke Yekinni, the author, the writer, the brain behind this very first in Africa. Please, can we put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen? adding to that, can we please make some noise?
Book is actually a combination of hard work, it's a combination of resilience, right? And I look at this book as something that's going to make a book that's going to make impact in the Nigerian landscape for professionals who are actually trying to dive into the software testing industry, or for those who are already in the software testing industry. There's so much in this book for everyone to learn.
I'm not into software testing, but from hearing, the fireside chats from the writer of the book itself, and also from the panel section that held, I was able to understand that software testing is beyond, checking for bugs. It is more or less like a process where you have to get a kind of precision, and when you have to attain a level of attention to details. So it's more or less like you have to be attentive to details so that you'll be able to get to the root cause of what defects software, what defects programs, and all that. So
The author, who has empowered over 20,000 people through emails, events, videos, courses, and coaching programs, speaks on how she intends to impact more people.
Generally, the book is meant to create an awareness for both users, for tech professionals, for C-level executives, the CEO, the CTOs, the COOs, and even government parastatals to start paying more attention on quality of products that are being released within their countries.
ABC of Software Testing is a resource for anyone wishing to launch a career in software testing.
This is where we have to end the show today. As always, we'll be delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumu. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.